In October 1993, a young couple vanished on a Rocky Mountain road trip. For 31 years, no one knew what happened to them. Then in 2024, the FBI found a clue that changed everything. What they discovered would shock the nation and expose a deadly secret that powerful people had been hiding for decades. What really happened to Ethan and Rebecca? And why did someone want them dead? The leather wallet felt cold in FBI agent Maria Santa's hands. After 31 years buried under mountain snow and ice, it still held secrets from. "Found this during the avalanche cleanup," said Park Ranger Tom Bradley. He set down another evidence bag on Maria's desk. "There's more." Maria stared at the driver's license through the plastic. Ethan Pierce, age 28. The photo showed a young man with kind brown eyes and a smile full of hope. His address was listed as Fort Collins, Colorado. Her heart pounded as she opened the second bag. Rebecca Chen, age 26. The woman in the photo had long black hair and bright eyes that seemed to sparkle with dreams. Her occupation was listed as teacher. "Where exactly did you find these?" Maria asked. Rabbit Ears Pass. The spring melt caused a huge avalanche last week. When our cleanup crew was clearing the debris, they spotted the wallets about 200 feet apart. Maria had heard about this case. Every FBI agent in Colorado knew the story. Two young people vanished on October 15, 1993, during what should have been a simple camping trip. Their families never stopped searching. Their parents grew old, waiting for answers that never came. Agent Santos, her partner David Kim, called from across the room. "You need to see this right now." Maria walked over to David's desk. He was holding a small piece of paper with tweezers. "It was tucked behind Rebecca's credit cards," he said. "Look at this." The handwriting was shaky and desperate. Maria read it out loud. "If someone finds this, tell my family I'm sorry. We should have listened. The man at the gas station was right. Don't." The message stopped in the middle of the sentence. Maria felt chills run down her spine. "After 31 years, we finally have our first real clue," David said. But Maria knew this note created more questions than answers. Who was the man at the gas station? What warning did he give? And most importantly, what were Ethan and Rebecca running from on that October night when they disappeared forever? She looked at the photos again. These weren't just case files anymore. They were real people who had loved each other, who had dreams and plans for their future. "Get me everything on this case," Maria told David. "Phone records, witness statements, police reports, everything." The case that had haunted two families for over 3 decades was about to reveal its darkest secrets. Fort Collins, Colorado, October 5th. Ethan Pierce checked his watch for the third time. 6 p.m. sharp. He had promised Rebecca he would pick her up right on time for their weekend adventure. He adjusted his red flannel shirt and looked at himself in the truck's mirror. His hands were shaking a little, not from nerves about the camping trip, but from what he planned to do under the stars tonight. The small velvet box in his jacket pocket felt heavy. He had been carrying it around for 3 weeks, waiting for the perfect moment to ask Rebecca Chen to marry him. At Lincoln Elementary School, Rebecca locked her classroom door and smiled at the colorful drawings covering her walls. Her third-grade students had made pictures of families, pets, and big dreams. She loved teaching, but she was excited for 2 days away from lesson plans and parent meetings. "You ready for our mountain adventure?" Ethan asked when she climbed into his blue pickup truck. Their camping gear filled the truck bed, sleeping bags, food, and his carpentry tools that rattled with every bump. "I've been looking forward to this all week," Rebecca said, kissing his cheek. "Just us, the mountains, and no phone calls from your boss about emergency repairs." They had been dating for 2 years. Everyone in Fort Collins knew they were perfect together. Ethan built beautiful furniture and fixed people's homes. Rebecca taught children to read and dream big. My mom packed her famous chocolate chip cookies, Rebecca said, holding up a metal tin. She said, mountain air makes people extra hungry. Ethan laughed. Your mum treats me better than my own family does. They drove through their small town, past the hardware store where Ethan bought his supplies. They passed the coffee shop where they had their first date 2 years ago. The October sun painted the changing leaves gold and red. I have something special planned for this weekend, Ethan said, his voice nervous. Rebecca looked at him with curious eyes. What do you mean? I mean... Ethan reached into his jacket and touched the velvet box. This weekend is going to change everything. Rebecca's heart started beating faster. Ethan, what are you talking about? You'll see, he said with a mysterious smile. I want to do this right, under the stars, with the mountains watching us. They pulled into Henderson's gas station to buy snacks and fill up the tank. The attendant was an older man with worried eyes who watched them closely. You folks heading up to the mountains? He asked. Rabbit Ears Pass, Ethan said proudly. Going to have the best weekend of our lives. The old man's face changed. His smile disappeared. I wouldn't go up there tonight if I were you, son. Strange things have been happening. People going missing. Ethan and Rebecca looked at each other. They were young and in love. Nothing could stop them now. Thanks for the warning, Ethan said politely, but we'll be just fine. As they drove away, gas station owner Harold Henderson shook his head sadly. He had tried to warn them, just like he had tried to warn others. But young people in love never listened to old men's fears. He watched their truck disappear into the mountain darkness and whispered a prayer for their safety. Mountain Road to Rabbit Ears Pass, October 5th. The truck's headlights cut through the growing darkness as Ethan drove up the winding mountain road. Rebecca moved closer to him on the bench seat, feeling excited about their weekend together. That gas station man was pretty scary, she said. What do you think he meant about people going missing? Ethan shrugged his shoulders. He's probably just trying to scare city folks. You know how these mountain people can be sometimes. But Rebecca couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The old man's eyes had shown real fear, not just small-town stories meant to frighten tourists. Maybe we should have asked him more questions, she said quietly. Rebecca, honey, we've been planning this trip for 2 months. We have reservations at the campground. Besides, what could possibly happen? We're both good hikers. The radio started making static noise as they climbed higher into the mountains. The last clear music station faded away, leaving them with only the sound of the truck's engine and wind whistling through the tall pine trees. It's getting really dark up here, Rebecca said, looking out at the thick forest. Are you sure you know where we're going? Ethan pointed to an old wooden sign that appeared in their headlights. Rabbit Ears Pass, 15 miles, he read out loud. See? We're right on track. 1 more hour and we'll be setting up camp under the most beautiful stars you've ever seen. Rebecca tried to feel better, but something still felt wrong. The darkness seemed too thick and heavy. She had lived in Colorado her whole life, but these mountains felt different tonight. Dangerous. Ethan, look ahead, she whispered, pointing through the windshield. Red tail lights glowed through the trees. A car was stopped on the side of the road with its hazard lights blinking. Should we stop and help? Rebecca asked. Of course, Ethan said, slowing down the truck. That's what good people do when someone needs help. As they got closer, they saw an expensive black car with dark tinted windows. A man in a business suit stood beside it, waving his arms at them. Thank God someone finally came, the man called out as Ethan rolled down his window. My car broke down hours ago. I've been stuck here forever. Something about the man made Rebecca feel uncomfortable. His suit was too clean for someone who had been stuck on a mountain road. His shoes were too shiny, and his smile didn't look real. What's wrong with your car? Ethan asked. Engine trouble, the man said, walking closer to their truck. You wouldn't have jumper cables, would you? Sure thing, Ethan said, reaching for the door handle. Wait, Rebecca whispered, grabbing his arm tight. Something's not right about this. The man's fake smile started to fade. Is there some kind of problem here? Rebecca's teacher training kicked in. She had learned to trust her feelings about people, especially when it came to keeping children safe. This man made every alarm bell in her head ring loudly. We're in a big hurry, she said in a loud voice. Sorry, we can't help you. Rebecca, what are you doing? Ethan asked, looking confused. But she was already reaching for the gear shift. Drive away. Right now. The man's friendly mask fell off completely. His eyes turned cold and mean. I really think you should help me out here, he said, his voice now threatening. Ethan saw the change in the man's face too. He quickly put the truck in gear and drove away fast, leaving the man standing alone beside his fancy car. What just happened back there? Ethan asked, his hands shaking on the steering wheel. Rebecca looked back through the rear window. The man was holding something up to his mouth that looked like a walkie-talkie. I think we just made a terrible mistake, she whispered. At Mountain Road, October 5th, the black sedan appeared in their rear-view mirror 5 minutes later. He got his car started pretty fast for someone with engine trouble, Rebecca said, her voice tight with fear. Ethan pressed harder on the gas pedal. His old pickup truck made loud noises as it climbed the steep mountain road. The sedan stayed behind them, keeping the same distance. Maybe it's just a coincidence, Ethan said, but he didn't believe his own words. At 10 p.m. on a mountain road that only goes to a campground? Ethan, that man was lying about everything. The sedan's headlights grew brighter. It was getting closer to them. There, Rebecca pointed to a dirt road going left into the trees. Take that turn. That's not the way to the campground. I don't care about the campground anymore. We need to get away from whoever that is. Ethan turned the steering wheel hard to the left. The truck bounced wildly as they hit the bumpy dirt road. Rocks and dust flew up behind them. The sedan followed them onto the dirt road. Why would someone chase us? Ethan asked, fighting to keep the truck on the rough road. We're nobody special. I build furniture. You teach kids. We don't have money or enemies. I don't know, Rebecca cried, but that gas station man tried to warn us. He said people were going missing. The dirt road went deeper into the dark forest. Their headlights showed tall pine trees and big rocks everywhere. This wasn't a real road anymore. It was more like a hiking trail. We can't keep driving like this, Ethan said. The truck won't make it much further on this road. Behind them, the sedan had fallen back. The expensive car wasn't built for driving on rough dirt roads. Look there, Rebecca said, pointing ahead. I see an open space. Ethan drove into a small clearing surrounded by thick trees. He turned off the engine and shut off the headlights. They sat in complete darkness, listening to their hearts beat loudly. Do you think we lost them? Rebecca whispered. Through the trees they could see lights moving. Flashlights. The people from the sedan were following them on foot. We have to run, Ethan said. Grab the backpack with our food and water. What about the truck? Forget the truck. We need to get up high where we can see what's coming. They quietly opened the truck doors. Rebecca grabbed her purse and the backpack with their camping supplies. Ethan took his hunting knife and a flashlight. The voices were getting closer. They could hear at least 3 different men talking in low, serious voices. This way, Ethan whispered, pointing to what looked like an animal trail going up the mountainside. They started climbing in the darkness, using tree branches to pull themselves up the steep hill. Rebecca's nice clothes weren't made for hiking, but fear gave her strength. My engagement ring, she said, looking at her hand. It fell off. We'll find it later, Ethan promised, though they both knew that wasn't true. Behind them, the flashlights moved through the trees. The men had found their truck. They went up the mountain, a voice called out, Spread out. Check every trail. Ethan and Rebecca kept climbing higher. The October air was thin and cold. Rebecca's lungs hurt with each breath. "Who are these people?" she whispered. "What do they want from us?" "I don't know," Ethan said, "but we're not going to wait around to find out." They reached a rocky ledge about 200 feet above the clearing. From here, they could see the flashlights moving through the trees below. The men were searching carefully like they had done this many times before. "We need to keep moving," Ethan said. "Find somewhere to hide until morning." But as they turned to continue climbing, they heard the sound that made their blood turn cold. Barking dogs. The hunters had become the hunted. Rocky cliff face. October. Ethan and Rebecca squeezed together in a small cave they found near the top of the mountain. The barking dogs sounded closer now, but the rocky ground made it harder for them to follow scents. "I can't feel my fingers," Rebecca whispered. Her breath made white clouds in the freezing air. Ethan wrapped his jacket around both of them. "Stay close to me. Our body heat will keep us warm." "Warm until what?" "What happens when the sun comes up? Those men aren't going to give up and go home." Through the cave opening, they could see flashlights still moving far below. Their hunters were still searching, still trying to find them. "That gas station man," Rebecca said suddenly. "He knew something bad was going to happen. He tried to warn us. What good does that knowledge do us now?" Rebecca pulled out a small piece of paper from her purse. She tore it from a notebook and started writing with a pen. "What are you doing? If something happens to us, if we don't make it home, I want people to know the truth. I want our families to know we didn't just run away or have a car accident." Her hand shook as she wrote, "If someone finds this, tell my family I'm sorry. We should have listened. The man at the gas station was right." Don't trust who?" Ethan asked. "We don't even know who's chasing us or why." Rebecca looked at the paper. She realized she didn't know how to finish the sentence. They were running from shadows, from people whose reasons they couldn't understand. "Maybe they're drug dealers," she said. "Maybe we saw something we shouldn't have seen." "When? At the gas station? All we did was buy sodas and talk about our camping trip." "Then maybe it's about where we're going. Maybe there's something at Rabbit Ears Pass they don't want us to see." The barking grew much louder. The dogs had picked up their scent again. "We have to move right now," Ethan said. They crawled out of the cave and started climbing higher up the mountain. The peak rose above them, but they were running out of places to hide. "Look," Rebecca pointed to the east. "The sky's getting lighter." Dawn was breaking over the Rocky Mountains. In the grey morning light, they could see their hunters clearly for the first time. 3 men in dark clothing, moving like trained soldiers. 2 German shepherd dogs pulled hard on their leashes, noses pressed to the ground. "They're professionals," Ethan realized with horror. "This isn't some random crime. They're hunting us like we're dangerous criminals." "But we're not criminals. We're just 2 people who wanted to go camping and get engaged." The men spotted them on the cliff face. One of them lifted something to his mouth, a radio. "Target found," his voice carried up the mountain. "North face, about 400 feet up." "Target?" Rebecca gasped. "They're talking about us like we're wild animals." More voices came through the radio. "Copy that. Keep watching them. More men are coming." "More men?" Ethan's voice cracked with fear. "How many people are trying to catch us?" They kept climbing, but the loose rocks gave way under their feet. Rebecca slipped and slid 5 feet down the cliff before catching herself on a tree root. "I can't do this anymore," she cried. "I'm a school teacher. I teach kids about being kind to each other. I don't understand why this is happening to us." Ethan reached down and helped pull her back up. "We're going to survive this. We're going to get married and have children and teach them about being brave." But even as he said the words, he knew they were trapped. The men below were getting closer. There was nowhere left to run. "Ethan," Rebecca said, looking into his eyes. I need you to know something. These past 2 years with you have been the happiest time of my whole life. Whatever happens next, I'm glad we found each other. Don't talk like we're going to die. We're getting out of here. But Rebecca wasn't listening to him anymore. She was looking at something behind him. Ethan, she whispered. Turn around very slowly. He turned and saw a fourth man, who must have climbed up from the other side of the mountain. He was standing 20 feet away, blocking their only escape path. Mr. Pierce. Miss Chen, the man said in a calm voice. You've given us quite a chase tonight. But it's over now. Who are you? Ethan demanded. What do you want from us? The man smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. I'm someone who solves problems for important people. And unfortunately, you two have become a very big problem. We don't know anything. We haven't done anything wrong. That's where you're mistaken, the man said, pulling out a gun. You've seen too much. And that makes you very dangerous to some very powerful people. Rebecca grabbed Ethan's hand tightly. What are you talking about? We haven't seen anything. The man's radio made noise. Sir, we're ready below. What are your orders? I want our families to know we loved them, Rebecca whispered to Ethan. They'll know, he whispered back, squeezing her hand. The man raised his gun toward them. I'm truly sorry about this. You seem like nice young people, but sometimes innocent people get caught up in something much bigger and more dangerous than themselves. At FBI Field Office, Denver, March, Agent Maria Santos read the case file for the 100th time. 31 years after Ethan Pierce and Rebecca Chen vanished, their story still made no sense. The wallets were found 200 feet apart, she told her partner, Agent David Kim. Like they were thrown from a great height. Or dropped while running for their lives, David said. But running from what? 2 young people in love, going camping. No criminal history, no debts, no enemies. Why would anyone want to hurt them? Maria spread crime scene photos across her desk. The area where the wallets were found was very remote, only reachable by hiking trails. The avalanche that found them happened because of climate change. 30 years of changing weather finally showed evidence that had been buried under snow and ice. I've been thinking about that note, David said. The warning about the gas station man. What if we're looking at this the wrong way? What do you mean? What if the gas station man wasn't warning them about some general danger? What if he was warning them about something very specific? Maria opened a map on her computer. The gas station where they stopped was Henderson's fuel stop, about 10 miles outside Fort Collins. It's been closed for 20 years, but the owner might still be alive. Maria's phone rang. Agent Santos. This is Harold Henderson. I heard on the news that you found those kids from 1993. I've been waiting 31 years for someone to call me. An hour later, Harold Henderson sat across from Maria in the FBI interview room. He was 78 years old now, his hands shaking as he held a cup of coffee. I tried to warn them, he said, his voice full of sadness. That young couple, so happy, so in love. I told them not to go up to the mountains that night. Why? Maria asked. What did you know? Harold closed his eyes. I knew about the drug operation. I knew about the men who killed anyone who got too close to their business. What drug operation? Rabbit Ears Pass wasn't just a campground in 1993. It was where drugs were moved. Cocaine coming up from Mexico going out to Denver, Chicago, New York. Millions of dollars of drugs moving through those mountains every month. Maria and David looked at each other. This was the first they had heard about any drug operation. The campground was just a cover story, Harold continued. Most of the time, regular campers would come and go without seeing anything. But that weekend in October, there was supposed to be a major drug shipment coming through. The dealers had orders to kill anyone who might see what was happening. How did you know about this? Harold's hands shook harder. Because my son was involved. My boy Danny got mixed up with the wrong people after high school, started selling drugs to pay for his own drug habit. He told me about the operation, tried to get me to help wash dirty money through the gas station. What happened to Danny? He disappeared 3 weeks before that young couple. Just like them, he went up to the mountains and never came back. Harold wiped his eyes. I knew what happened to him. I knew what would happen to anyone else who went up there. Maria leaned forward. Mr. Henderson, we need names. Who was running this operation? The leader was a man named Vincent Caruso. He had connections to organized crime in Chicago, but the local muscle, the ones who did the actual killing, they were from Denver. Harold pulled out an old photograph. This is my Danny. He was only 19 when they killed him. The photo showed a young man with kind eyes and a hopeful smile. He looked very similar to Ethan Pierce. I should have called the police, Harold said, but I was scared. These weren't just drug dealers. They were killers, and they had connections everywhere. Police, judges, politicians. Danny told me they owned half the law enforcement in 3 counties. Maria's mind raced. The couple that night, Ethan and Rebecca, did they tell you anything specific about their plans? They said they were going to Rabbit Ears Pass. The young man was carrying an engagement ring. He was going to ask her to marry him under the stars. Harold's voice broke. They were so happy. They reminded me of my wife and me when we were young. What happened after they left your gas station? About an hour later, 3 cars came by. Black cars with dark windows. They asked if I'd seen a blue pickup truck. I lied. I told them I hadn't seen anyone. Did you recognize any of the men? One of them, a man named Marcus Webb. He was Caruso's enforcer. Everyone in the area knew to stay away from him. Maria wrote down the name. Is Webb still alive? As far as I know, he'd be in his 70s now. After the operation shut down in the mid-90s, he moved to Arizona. But men like him never really retire. David asked, what caused the operation to shut down? Harold looked surprised. You don't know? It was the FBI raid in 1995. They arrested over 30 people, including Caruso. But by then, it was too late for Danny. And too late for that young couple. Maria felt her blood turn cold. What FBI raid? Operation Mountain Thunder. It was all over the news. The FBI had been investigating the drug operation for months. They found evidence of at least 12 murders, including several campers who had disappeared over the years. Mr. Henderson, Maria said slowly, I need you to understand something very important. There's no record of any FBI raid in 1995, no Operation Mountain Thunder, no arrest. Harold stared at her. That's impossible. It was on every news channel. The newspapers ran stories for weeks. I've checked every database. There's no record of Vincent Caruso or Marcus Webb being arrested for anything. The old man's face went pale. Then what happened to them? Maria and David looked at each other. They were both thinking the same terrible thing. Mr. Henderson, David said, I think you were given false information. Someone wanted you to believe the operation was shut down, but it never was. But the news stories can be faked, especially if you have the right connections. Harold sat in shocked silence. You're telling me that for 30 years I thought justice was served. I thought the men who killed my son were in prison. I'm telling you that the men who killed your son and who killed Ethan Pierce and Rebecca Chen may still be alive. And if they are, we're going to find them. After Harold left, Maria and David sat in the conference room trying to understand what they had learned. A drug operation that the FBI supposedly shut down, but there's no record of it, David said. That's not just a cover-up. That's something much worse. What if, Maria said slowly, the operation wasn't shut down because it was never meant to be shut down? What if it was being protected? Protected by who? Maria pulled up a file on her computer. I want to see who was running the Denver FBI office in... The name that appeared on the screen made her stomach drop. Assistant Director Robert Kellerman, she read. He was in charge of all drug investigations in the region from I know that name, David said. He died in a car accident in 1999. Big funeral, lots of law enforcement officials. What if it wasn't an accident? To Maria asked. What if someone was getting rid of loose ends? They sat in silence thinking about what this meant. We need to find Marcus Webb, Maria said finally. If he's still alive, he's the key to everything. And if he's dead, then we find out who killed him and why. Maria looked at the photo of Ethan and Rebecca again. Two young people whose only crime was being in the wrong place at the wrong time. They deserved better than this, she said. They deserved to have their wedding, to raise their children, to grow old together. They deserve justice, David agreed, even if it's 31 years late. Maria picked up her phone. I'm calling the Phoenix FBI office. It's time to find Marcus Webb. The shocking truth was finally becoming clear. Ethan Pierce and Rebecca Chen hadn't died because of bad luck or being in the wrong place. They had been murdered as part of a massive cover-up that reached into the highest levels of law enforcement, and the people responsible had been living free for over 3 decades. But their time was running out. After 31 years, Ethan and Rebecca finally got the justice they deserved. Their love story may have ended in tragedy, but their memory will live on forever. Where are you listening from today? Drop your location in the comments below. I love hearing from viewers around the world. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us spread kindness and share more incredible true stories. And don't forget to click on the video appearing on your screen right now for another amazing story that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Until next time, keep spreading kindness wherever you go.